If you can't nitpick something just to be like, hey, this could use some improvement, then how exactly do you expect to either become number one or to stay number one? If you want to succeed in life, you need to have constructive criticisms. You need to have good feedback. You need to be able to improve. It's always about never being satisfied.
Summon the Spectre.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 21 of the SpectreVerse Podcast. I'm your host, JariSpectre, aka the Spectre, Jaden Mercer. And on today's episode, we have a lot of pro wrestling that we are going to be talking about. On top of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and AEW Dynamite, the King and Queen of the Rings are officially underway. We are now just waiting on one match from both the men and the women for the first round. We are going to be talking about the ones who advanced. We're going to be talking about the ones who did not advance and whether the creative made the right call or whether they are completely blowing this, which in my personal opinion, I feel like they are completely bombing this out of the water. And I will touch upon my thoughts and opinions on that. On top of that, we are going to be talking about some of the news regarding Nick Khan and the suits in WWE saying that they do not listen to the online criticism. They only go off of what they see, whether that's graphs, numbers, and revenue. And we're going to be talking about how stupid of a mindset that is. Two other things we're going to touch upon on this episode. Mick Foley wants to have his last match in AEW. And I will be completely honest, I don't think anybody is asking for this. So I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on that as we dive deep into that story. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is how WWE does not view Ilya Dragunov as a top guy. And that caused an outrage on social media about whether Ilya is considered a top guy or not. It seemed, from what I've read, it was pretty much a 50-50 split. So I'm actually going to give my personal thoughts and opinions on what a top guy should be and some of the criteria that needs to be met in order to be a top guy. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. And without further ado, let's jump in to the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. On paper, when I was looking at this last week, specifically on this podcast, we talked about this. I said that realistically, the men should have two realistic outcomes. The first, which was the most blatantly obvious, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in the finals. And have Seth Rollins beat Braun Breaker to then challenge Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That is obviously not going to happen. The second one was that ďBY was going to get the official rocket strapped to his back by becoming the new King of the Ring. That one is looking a little more obvious now. With these fatal four-ways that we've gotten, I've not only just kind of like left myself after each match scratching my head, but mainly like, what is WWE thinking for SummerSlam? ďBY advanced last week on Raw. That one was a given. It was a lock. Then on SmackDown, Dominic Mysterio upsetted everybody. Trick Williams, Braun Breaker, and Damian Priest. Why they chose Dominic Mysterio to advance is genuinely beyond me. I can't think of a reason as to why they had him advance. Easily, I could have just thrown Braun Breaker in there and people would be clamoring for a Braun Breaker versus ďBY match. Now, I understand why WWE was afraid to go that route. Like we said on this podcast, I'm sure everybody has heard it more than once. WWE likes to play it safe. They don't like to challenge themselves. They don't like to really put thought into anything that they're doing. They let ChatGPT, they let AI write their storylines. So obviously, Dominic Mysterio is going up one-on-one against ďBY. At this point, ďBY is a lock to beat Dominic Mysterio. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Unless Brock Lesnar shows up next week and costs ďBY the king of the ring. I don't think that's going to happen. I just, for whatever reason, I can't mentally process if that is the case, to have Dominic Mysterio go to the finals of the King of the Ring tournament in Saudi at Night of Champions. I just, for whatever reason, I can't see that happening. And if so, if WWE wants to go that route, they would be absolutely blithering fucking idiots to go that route. I'm putting a little faith in them to do it right. Have ďBY go to the finals. Granted, I feel like, if anything, it should have been ďBY versus Braun Breaker, and then if you wanted to have some sort of distraction with the Vision, with Brock, with anything, that at least makes a little more sense. But obviously that's not the route that they went, and now we just got to be stuck with it, which is pretty downright criminal, if you ask me. And then on the other side of what we got yesterday on Monday Night Raw, we had Seth Rollins, Javon Evans, Tala Tonga, and Ricky Saints. Now, on paper, reading it, you're like, okay, Seth Rollins is an easy lock. Javon Evans is going to look great. Hopefully, Ricky Saints looks great as well. Right? That is not what we got on Monday Night Raw. We had the Vision and Austin Theory cost Seth Rollins the King of the Ring spot. I get it. They want to keep the storyline going between the Vision and Seth Rollins and the Street Profits. I get it. However, if you wanted to spice this feud up and make it mean more, easily you could have had Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in the finals. No Street Profits, no Vision, no nonsense. And you know for a fact Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker would have one-upped their match from last time now that they got some of the ring rust off of them. So I genuinely don't know why the fuck WWE chose to not go that route, whether it was too predictable or not. If WWE is trying to be risky right now, they're failing. And the reason they're failing is because the risks that they're taking don't make any sense. None. Javon Evans ended up advancing yesterday on Raw, which I'm not going to be too upset about because Javon is one hell of a wrestler, hell of a guy. The future is so bright with that kid. He's only 21 years old. Been there, heard it. We see it every week. The kid is great. I'm not knocking him in any way, shape, or form. This is how you help build stars, right? But now, onto the last match that we're going to get this upcoming Friday. We have Jey Uso, LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Finn Balor. Because now we got to start thinking realistically about who should advance. And honestly, it feels like we're doing the creative team's job for them, which in a sense we shouldn't have to do, but here we are. Jey Uso. Out of all the people right now, Jey Uso, on paper and on per television, has the second highest likeliness of winning this match. Roman Reigns told him, hey, I want you to go after Cody. I want you to win King of the Ring and go after Cody so that there can be two heads at the table. Right? So Jey is just following Roman's orders. I get it. LA Knight, he's the one that has been causing the most chaos and pretty much just calling his shot at Roman Reigns. Dude's confidence is through the roof, and he actually cut a very passionate promo on Raw. We'll talk about that when we touch upon what happened on the entire show. LA Knight, I think, has the highest odds-on favorite to win this. I don't see Royce Keys winning this, mainly just because he has not been booked properly enough in this tournament. Not just in this tournament, but on SmackDown period since he debuted. Granted, he's been getting a lot more TV time, which that's good. Got to start somewhere. But there just hasn't been enough. And then Finn Balor. Now, Finn is very much the wild card in all of this. But, I mean, you can say that for the other 3 matches that we've had. Finn Balor easily is the third highest likeliness to win. And the only reason I say that is because of Dominic Mysterio advancing on the other side of that bracket. For whatever reason, WWE just cannot seem to get out of their Judgment Day stint that they're in. It's gone on for years now. And obviously with Finn Balor leaving, that was the right call when they did it. But, okay, how do you want to progress this story? They moved Finn Balor over from Raw to SmackDown to get him away from the Judgment Day. But without a shadow of a doubt, if for whatever reason Obafemi loses to Dominic Mysterio, Dom is in the finals. Who else would it make sense to face Dominic Mysterio in the finals? Finn Balor. And then from there, you would have Finn Balor win and then challenge Cody at SummerSlam for the WWE title. The only reason I say Cody is because there's history there. There's history there with the Bullet Club. It's obviously during different time frames, but if they want to, make it feel like more, make it a little more realistic, got to bring up the history. And on top of that, on paper, as far as marquee matchups for SummerSlam, from an in-ring standpoint, out of all of these men, who do you think is going to deliver the best match with Cody Rhodes? Obviously, Seth Rollins is out of the equation because he lost to Javon Evans in his match yesterday. That would be the only exception. Same with Ricky Saints. Ricky Saints and Cody have some history, but Ricky is brand spanking new. It doesn't make sense. Finn Balor and Cody Rhodes would easily by far have the best match out of all those guys. I guess you could even consider Royce Keys in that aspect, but now this is where we start touching upon the stories. Who has history with Roman and Cody? LA Knight, that kind of already shoves him to the side. Royce Keys has history with Cody, being both guys were in AEW, but there's not enough story there. But then you look at Royce Keys and Roman and how Solo Sikoa and the MFTs are trying to bring in Royce Keys to the family. So I guess if you wanted to go that route, but that doesn't scream marquee for SummerSlam. So now what do you do? Finn Balor versus Roman. Been there, done that. Don't need to see it again. And then there's Jey Uso. Obviously, Jey versus Roman, we've seen how many times, and per storyline, it does not make sense. And this is where, honestly, I could see WWE going. I could see Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. The only thing is, we know for a goddamn fact that Jey Uso does not deserve to be in that spot, considering how he's been booked all this year, and just because there's history with him and Cody winning the tag titles on Cody's road back 2 years ago at WrestleMania 40 to finish his story. There was history when they won the tag titles, but God forbid, if we have to see another shitty Jey Uso match and a bunch of this yeet garbage, then fucking see ya. I just can't. I can't do it. So realistically, who wins here? I would love to see Finn Balor win. I would love to see Finn Balor win, but this is WWE we're talking about here. I think Jey Uso is going to advance this upcoming Friday, and he will face Javon Evans in the quarterfinals, which then Jey Uso will advance to the finals, and then we will get Jey Uso versus ďBY, and this is where I guarantee we'll see Brock, we'll see the bloodline, we'll see all the shenanigans in the world, and then honestly from there, now it just comes down to how are we going to book SummerSlam? If you have ďBY win, he could easily go after Roman, or he could go after Cody. I think from an in-ring standpoint, it makes sense for ďBY to go after Roman. Obviously, things and card is always subject to change. But that marquee matchup is enough. And on top of that, you think Cody Rhodes has enough stuff going on SmackDown right now with Gunther and Sami Zayn. And then obviously you know for a fact that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are lurking somewhere in the background. They are just lurking, waiting for their time to strike. I think what SummerSlam is going to look like is going to be CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And on the other side, we are going to have ďBY versus Roman Reigns. But the only issue is if they have ďBY win, who is going to fight Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar, being that this is probably going to be his official last match, it only leaves one person, and that's Gunther. And obviously Gunther being the career killer, and they want to continue the storyline of Gunther ending careers, this is where you have the match. I don't know if they're going to go that route, but if I were a betting man, and I guarantee if Brock wanted it to be Gunther, this is where you do it. But actually, now that actually changes things up a little bit more. Because let's think about this a little bit. This is where we're going to just start spitballing ideas here in order for it to fully make sense. Let's say we have Jey Uso versus ďBY in the finals. And let's say Brock Lesnar attacks ďBY or does something and Jey Uso scores the win. Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Although it does not scream marquee SummerSlam matchup, you can't rule out the possibility. But then who fights Roman? This is where we could somehow integrate Seth Rollins, whether he beats Braun Breaker at a Saturday night's main event or Night of Champions, just anything, in order to end that feud, or at least put it on the back burner for a little bit, so that he can get back to Roman. We can still have the possibility of a Roman versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. And I don't want to rule that out, but in the process of that, we are going to have to sacrifice to get Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso. Does that mean Jey Uso is going to win? God, I fucking hope not. I hope not. Jey Uso, and this is no knock, and it's really tricky because it's like you don't want to come off like it's a personal attack, but based on how he has been booked all of 2026, he has not deserved or earned a title match against Cody. And based on history in his singles matches, he doesn't have the best track record of singles matches. A lot of them have been stinkers. That's just the God honest truth. And if you want to put it on paper, people are already going to have this notion in their mind of what they're going to get. And you don't want that, especially if it's not one of like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this. Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso is not a, oh my God, I can't wait to see this match. It's really not. So what does that mean? Even if we do get Cody versus Jay, I do feel like Cody will end up retaining. And then, honestly, the sky's the limit after that, because you have CM Punk lurking somewhere in the background. Money in the Bank is right around the corner after SummerSlam. I believe it's in October now instead of September. Whatever. WWE hates Money in the Bank anyway, so I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But we can still get a Roman and Seth match. I don't want to rule that possibility out. But it's going to come at the expense of either Gunther or Obafemi. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think WWE has thought that far ahead. And even if they did, I don't think ChatGPT has pulled up a good enough answer for them. And going off of that, let's just talk about some of the internal frustrations of the Judgment Day, since Dominic Mysterio was one of those people to advance. There was a news article that broke out over the weekend and said there has been some internal frustration regarding the recent lack of direction for Dominic Mysterio, and his recent lack of in-ring activity is being seen as more of a reflection of current creative priorities than any concern surrounding him. And Dominic Mysterio's involvement is expected to increase as the road to Triple Mania continues. So, with that news article breaking, that's where I wouldn't say shocked, because I very much was shocked to see Dominic Mysterio advance in the King of the Ring tournament. But then you also got to realize Triple Mania is only a few months away. It's right after SummerSlam. Like maybe 2-3 weeks after SummerSlam. And especially with Dominic being their champion, he needs to be booked strong. At least from a TV aspect. And I feel like WWE has not done a very good job at booking him strong. So when you put that into consideration with the AAA brand, I see why they did what they did, but at the same time, it's just like, how much of your fan base truly cares about AAA other than the diehard lucha fans and other than the people of Mexico? I don't really honestly see that many people being like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch AAA. I'm sure we're going to be excited to see El Grande versus Dom. You know they're going to build that story and it's going to be great. But other than that, I don't think anybody's really like jumping out of their seats to be like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch Triple Mania. Like, let's just be real here. That's just not what they're doing. At least the majority of your fan base is not doing that. So I see why they wanted to have him advance, but at the same time, I just don't think it was the right decision. There was also some internal frustration with Liv Morgan. In this article, there were some frustrations and criticisms within WWE regarding the utilization of Liv Morgan. Her creative plans for Morgan originally called for a continuation of her storyline with Stephanie Vaquer, but following Stephanie's injury, there was a little adjustment made to keep Morgan a focal point of Monday Night Raw, and that Liv is expected to become more active in the near future, regardless of Vaquer's status. Well, God, I would surely fucking hope so, considering she is your top women's wrestler on the Monday Night Raw brand. And on top of that, it's now been 53 days since she won the title at WrestleMania. And guess how many defenses she's had? 0. Another question I'm going to throw at you guys. How many real storylines other than the internal drama of the Judgment Day has Liv Morgan had for the title? 0. And third and final for the class, how many of you truly care about what Liv Morgan is currently doing on television? That's right, same answer. 0. No knock on her. She's a hell of a worker. She deserves that title. But this is where creative constantly comes up short. They don't know how to book their own talent. They don't know what they see in their own talent. And it's actually very, very shocking how they don't see what they have staring at them right in the fucking face. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. There is so much talent on that women's roster that is either being underutilized, underappreciated, or simply, oh, we don't know what to do with you, so we're going to throw you into a tag team. It just doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. We could literally pull up the entire women's roster and be like, that would be a banger. That would be a banger. That would be a fun match. That could be interesting. And it's not just with Liv, it could be with anybody. But this is WWE we're talking about. This is the company that likes to play it safe, and they don't like to push their own boundaries, and when they do attempt to take risks, it hits them right in the face. And it's shitty. Speaking of shitty, Ilya Dragunov was reported to not be viewed internally as a quote-unquote top guy by the higher-ups, but rather as an interchangeable mid-card talent. Like I said in the intro, this caused pretty much a 50-50 split down the middle of what should be somebody viewed as a top guy. What does that look like? On one side, you have people like, oh yeah, Ilya Dragunov is definitely a top guy. He was a top guy in NXT UK. He was a top guy in NXT. What do you mean he's not a top guy? And then on the other side of the fence, you got people being like, he's too small. His character is just missing something. He's just kind of in that middle. He's a great wrestler, but he can just be a good soldier and a good hand to have. And it's like, all right, well, considering I am an active wrestler, what do I view somebody as a top guy to be? What I view as a top guy is somebody that shows up to work and tries his best to never complain, put out the best matches, have the best character, to have the most crowd interaction, and just have, whether it's the most heat from the crowd or to be the most beloved, and 6, to have the best storyline and best matches. That's what I view a top guy to be. Best matches, best character, best charisma, best crowd interaction, best storyline, best person to put in front of a camera no matter what. Those 6 things is what I view a top guy to be. Well, now let's break this down a little bit more. How do we view Ilya Dragunov as of today? He does have some of the best matches. He is one hell of a worker. Does he have the best character? No, he does not. Is that his fault or is that WWE's fault? I feel like it could be a little bit of both. Does he have the best charisma? I don't think he does. So now it's 2-1. Does he have the best storyline going on? He doesn't have a storyline going on. Could you put him in front of a camera to represent your company no matter what? The answer is yes. You honestly could. You look at a guy like Ilya Dragunov, and you're telling me you wouldn't want him to represent your company? At that point, you're just like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. There are so many different factors into being a top guy. Some of them that you do have control over. Some of them that you do have control over, and some of them that you just flat right don't. So as of now, is Ilya Dragunov a top guy? Yes, but not in WWE. That is the best way I can put it. He can be a top guy in WWE, but I feel like he's got a long way to go and a very steep hill to climb. And I hope that he can just keep clawing to get to the top. Because, by God, when Ilya is on one, he is so fun. But at the same time, you're dealing with the juggernaut. You're dealing with WWE. And sometimes that mountain is just too steep and too high to climb. That's going to do it, at least for that part of the news. We'll touch upon the rest of that stuff towards the end. We're going to jump right into some of the show breakdowns between Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite. We're going to start with what happened yesterday on Monday Night Raw. ďBY opened up the show, and he talked about how he is on his way to winning the King of the Ring and eventually facing Brock Lesnar again. Dominic Mysterio interrupted and claimed that he would beat ďBY next week in the quarterfinal match. JD McDonough attempted a chair attack from behind, but ďBY destroyed both Judgment Day members and stood tall in the end. Shocker, I know. Seth Rollins declared that he intends to win King of the Ring and to go on to fight Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. We all know for a fact that that just did not happen. For Queen of the Ring, for the first round, Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch versus Chelsea Green. Liv Morgan ended up advancing in this match. Now, when it comes to the women and the Queen of the Ring, I feel like a little bit of this is a little on the underwhelming side, mainly just because you look at the slew of women's wrestlers that we have, and who are they currently tied up with, and who realistically could be at the top of the card for SummerSlam. First and foremost, Liv Morgan should not be in this tournament. She is the champion. She should have people literally fighting over who gets a shot at her. Putting her in the tournament is only hurting her, and it's hurting the women's title. And obviously with her advancing, I don't know what good is going to come of this at all. The only real story of this tournament is the internal struggles between the Judgment Day with Raquel, Roxanne, and Liv. Other than that, nothing else is important about this. Chad Gable, he apologized to Penta on Raw, and then Penta told him he would also need to apologize to Rey Mysterio if he truly wanted forgiveness from all the luchadors. Then backstage, Rollins crossed paths with Jimmy, Jay, and Jacob Fatu. Rollins mocked them as being Roman's bag boys, and the Usos wanted Jacob Fatu to respond quickly and physically, but Fatu walked away and later clarified that he acknowledges Roman and not the Usos. Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Sol Ruca versus Lyra Valkyria. Sol Ruca ended up retaining. Nothing too crazy here. LA Knight and Jey Uso. They had a nice little segment. LA Knight continued his complaints about Adam Pearce, the Bloodline, and the politics backstage. Jey Uso confronted him about it, leading to a very heated verbal exchange. We talked about this earlier with where LA Knight is currently in this tournament and as far as where he's positioned on this show. Does it scream marquee matchup to have LA Knight in the title match? No, but at the same time, I know for a fact that WWE would like to have the fans rally more behind LA Knight, but here's a crazy fucking idea. Maybe you shouldn't have, pumped the brakes on him so much and cooled off a lot of his momentum. Crazy fucking concept. I know. Men's Intercontinental Championship match. Penta versus Rey Mysterio. Penta retained after a very highly praised lucha-styled match. It was a very good match. Go watch it. It was definitely worth it. But Penta retains, continuing his reign as the Intercontinental Champion. He has been killing it. Penta is killing it. And as soon as he drops that IC title, people are going to be clamoring to have him going after the world title. After the match between Rey and Penta, Ethan Page and Rusev attacked both competitors. Dragon Lee attempted to come help out, but was immediately overwhelmed. Rey Mysterio got unmasked during the assault, but then Chad Gable made the run-in, cleared the ring, and returned the mask of Rey Mysterio to a huge pop. Chad Gable is on one, and WWE would be stupid to not have Chad Gable with gold in 2026. How you get there, I don't know. But that man has put in so much work, so much effort, got injured, came back, and became the hottest commodity in WWE other than your top guys. Dude has been killing it since Mask vs. Mask. Liv Morgan backstage celebrated her Queen of the Ring advancement. Roxanne Perez suggested a Judgment Day friendly tournament final involving Liv and Raquel, but Liv was more interested in Dominic and the Judgment Day business. And then in the main event, we had the men's King of the Ring fatal four-way match between Rollins, Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, and Tala Tonga. And after a very chaotic match, Seth Rollins was about to capture the win, and that's when Theory cost him with pulling the referee out. Ron Breaker got involved. The Street Profits came out to make the save, and that's when Javon Evans capitalized with the OG cutter for the 1-2-3. So Javon Evans advances in the King of the Ring tournament. SmackDown. SmackDown started with Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Sami Zayn. Cody Rhodes addressed his controversial win over Gunther at Clash in Italy. Gunther then interrupted and demanded a rematch, furious over the officiating mistakes. Sami Zayn joined the confrontation, arguing that Cody has continually overlooked him and he's sick of it. And the segment escalated into a chaotic three-way brawl that set up a future title match. I'm okay with what they're doing between Cody, Gunther, and Sami. I wish that it could have been Gunther capitalizing, beating Cody at Clash, and then have Cody and Sami settling their differences in order to get to that spot. That would have been me personally. Obviously, with a three-way, it's a little different, and there's a little more implications. But at the same time, if you gave Cody, Gunther, and Sami creative reign to go out there and have a banger for like 25 minutes, that match would fuck. It would be stupid awesome. So I'm going to hold my breath for the time being. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's just very much, I just hope they capitalize on this opportunity that they have. Queen of the Ring, first round. Bayley versus Raquel versus JC Jane versus Kiana James. Raquel used her power advantage throughout this match, and after multiple near falls, Raquel scored the victory and advanced in the women's tournament. I would not be surprised to see Liv Morgan versus Raquel at the end of this in the finals. I just hope that whatever they have cooking is worth it, because on paper right now, and as far as a fan interest, it's not enough. Post-match, Kiana James is yelling at Julia, and Julia snaps and attacks Kiana James for a very, very huge pop. So Julia just turned babyface. They need more babyface women on that roster. And honestly, keeping Julia away from Kiana James, I think, is going to be the best bet. Obviously, you know they're going to have some sort of feud, but there really isn't a whole lot of story, so I don't feel like it needs to be dragged out very long. And like I said, they need baby faces. You have a bunch of heels or potential heels dominating the women's division. You need some underdog baby faces, and I'm hoping that they capitalize. Backstage, Damian Priest and R-Truth. Priest stopped R-Truth from getting involved in Royce Keys' upcoming issues, and the segment continued the story surrounding Keys and Priest's alliance, which led right into Royce Keys versus Tala Tonga, and Tala Tonga ended up defeating Royce Keys decisively. which that was a shocker. I don't know why we have Tala Tonga just dominating everybody, but clearly they see something in him other than his height. And if it is just his height, what the fuck are we doing with Royce Keys? There's so many decisions that this company makes that, to me personally, I'm just like, where is your head at? So many times. War Raiders returned to SmackDown backstage. They made a surprise appearance carrying the AAA World Tag Titles, and they confronted the Tag Team Champions and issued a title versus title match, and R-Truth humorously brushed them off. Rhea Ripley comes out and talks about her win at Clash in Italy over Jade Cargill, but that's when Charlotte Flair interrupted her and said that she wants a shot at Rhea and the title. Then she is interrupted by Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, and they all got involved, and the tensions rose as multiple women positioned themselves as the future challengers for Rhea Ripley. All of that led to, you guessed it, a tag match. Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill and Michin, and Charlotte and Tiffany ended up picking the win after miscommunication from the heels. Couldn't care at all. Couldn't care less. Fatal Influence attacked Paige and Brie Bella, which clearly signals that they are next in line to get a tag team title match. Honestly, if I were WWE, I would put the tag titles on Fatal Influence. The legit team, and Paige and Brie Bella have not done anything as tag team champions. That's just my personal opinion. Chelsea Green versus Lash Legend. Lash Legend completely overwhelmed Chelsea Green, and the match was pretty much a squash. I don't know what the fuck WWE is doing with Chelsea Green. She is so good, so underappreciated, and honestly, it's just downright criminal what they're doing with her. I don't get it. Chad Gable made his return. This was his first appearance after the Mask versus Mask match from AAA. And he got a huge pop. And he apologized to Rey Fenix and inserted himself back into the ongoing Lucha-related storyline. And now essentially he is pretty much playing the good guy, being like, I'm going to apologize to all the luchadors that I pissed off with being El Grande Americano. Carmelo Hayes versus Ricky Saints. This was their rematch following last week's double countout, and both men had a very competitive and a very fun back and forth match. Ricky Saints finally scored a clean win over Carmelo Hayes, and this gives him the one-up advantage in their bragging rights rivalry. I don't know how I necessarily feel about the booking of Carmelo Hayes right now. I feel like ever since he lost that title, he has lost all of the momentum in the world. Obviously, we know he's one hell of a wrestler, and he's one hell of a personality to have. I just wish that they had a better direction for him. And then in the main event, we had the Fatal 4-Way for the men. We had Braun Breaker, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and Trick Williams. Breaker looked dominant early on and had several explosive moments. Judgment Day interference played a major role as JD McDonough got involved. Liv Morgan delivered a low blow to Damian Priest, and Dominic followed up with a 619 and a frog splash for the 1-2-3. Like we talked about before, Dominic Mysterio is going against Obafemi for the quarterfinal of the King of the Ring tournament. Switching things over, AEW Dynamite. I'll be honest, I feel like they're doing an okay job as far as the build towards All In. Obviously, you still got a little ways to go, but they're keeping things interesting with the Owen Hart tournament, which I appreciate. And I feel like it's just, they're trying to slow burn this as much as possible. I feel like people are ready to jump the gun and are calling for Will Ospreay to be the next world champion. I just say, I think AEW has done a good job at like, hey, let's take a step back. Let's slowly progress this. Obviously, The storylines are slow cooking right now, but once you turn that temp up just enough to have the water start to boil, then that's where you can really pick things up. Dynamite started with MJF versus Roosh in a no countouts match. I'll be honest, I'm shocked that they went with this match so early on. I feel like this could have been easily one of those matches that you could have slow cooked, but at the same time, you knew for a fact ever since last week when you had Mark Briscoe and Roosh come out to confront MJF, somebody was going to get a title match. I thought it was going to be Mark, but it ended up being Roosh. And MJF beats Roosh via pass out. I believe he locked in a submission hold and Roosh ended up passing out. Speaking of Mark Briscoe, he went up against Lio Rush and he ended up defeating Lio Rush with a cutthroat driver, and after the match, he grabbed the microphone and continued pushing for a future world title match. Andrade remained heavily involved in the world title scene as he picked up a win over DK Van Doo. I don't know who the fuck that is. And pretty much is going to be the next of the Mexicans to... He is going to be next in line somewhere down the road, whether it's Will Ospreay or MJF for a future world title match. The Don Callis family expanded as Kevin Knight officially joined the family. I think this is I wouldn't say a horrible decision, but I know they're trying to get cheap heat on Kevin Knight right now. I just don't think the Don Callis family needs more members. There's already like 27 of them. You don't need to add any more. You just need to book Kevin Knight as a credible and dominant heel. Why we're having people just constantly joining factions is stupid. It's stupid. TNT Championship, Kevin Knight versus Mike Bailey. Kevin Knight ended up retaining the championship with assistance from the Don Callis family. And then afterwards, he proclaimed bigger ambitions, including a world title match. Great. Let's bury our titles a little bit more. We talked about this last week, and I don't want to feel like a broken record on here. If you're a champion, worry about your championship. Don't be worrying about other championships. Simple. Women's Owen Hart Cup. The wild card was revealed, and that wild card was Mercedes Moné. I feel like a lot of people anticipated and were expecting it, and sure as shit, we got it. She went up against Alex Windsor and defeated Alex Windsor, and she will be advancing in this tournament. Forbidden Door is right around the corner, and there were various backstage interviews and segments about the ongoing stories between the tournament and Forbidden Door. And then in our main event, men's Owen Hart semifinal, Will Ospreay versus Mark Davis, former United Empire teammates, brotherhood, but I don't think they did a good enough job at really telling that story. The bout featured interference from the Don Callis family and the Death Riders, and despite the chaos, Will Ospreay defeated Mark Davis to advance to the Owen Hart Cup final, and Ospreay became the first wrestler officially added to the Forbidden Door card and moved one step closer to All In Wembley. Like we talked about, this tournament is to get Will Ospreay versus MJF at Wembley. But also, during this show, MJF hyperextended his knee, and from what the reports were saying, that it is legit, and they are very closely monitoring it. I don't think I don't think we've heard anything other than that regarding his knee injury. I believe it was just a hyperextension. There wasn't any torn ligaments. If so, we would have heard by now. So fingers crossed that it is that. And also, we don't need to see MJF wrestle every single week on Dynamite. That's not what this is for. This is now we need to get him. Let's start building towards Wembley. You can have people clamoring to get a shot at MJF. But I feel like that storyline worked better for a Darby Allin as the champion versus an MJF. MJF is very much, nope, you need to jump through this hoop, this hoop, this hoop. That's what being a heel champion is. Holding off as long as possible so that you can be fresh going into a matchup, and then hopefully you come out with a win due to nefarious acts, cheating, whatever the case. But essentially, don't be a coward, but now play more into the heel. You don't need to be working every single week. You just need to be building and really start to build, because obviously, before you know it, All In Wembley is going to be here. And if we don't have like a true story as to what's going on, it's going to fail. And we don't want that. As far as AEW news goes, there was really only one story, and that was Mick Foley. Mick Foley at Double or Nothing became All Elite, and there was a report a while back about how Mick Foley wants to have one final match, and he's hoping that it's with MJF. But that talk of actually having that one last match might actually be more of a reality than we thought. But there is a huge question mark as to, can Mick Foley properly clear testing? The report goes, Mick Foley is reportedly believed to have made his mind up that he wants to wrestle one more match, and it will be in AEW. Tony Khan would be eager to book Foley in a match if he gets cleared. That's the big key. If he gets cleared. Do I believe that Mick Foley can get cleared? Honestly, I could see him getting cleared to wrestle one final match. Should he get cleared to wrestle one final match? No. I don't think Mick Foley needs to wrestle one more match. He gave so much to this business. I don't think he needs it. Granted, I can see why he would want that, but at the same time, you look at his age, you look at his history, you look at the injuries, you look at what he put his body through from way back in the day all the way till now. It's not worth it. Just, you will forever go down as a legend. You don't need to prove yourself one final time. Stick to what you know now. You're gonna be fine. Everybody will remember you. You don't need one last match for nostalgia purpose. That's just my honest opinion on it. And honestly, that is going... One last story. Nick Khan claims WWE will never respond to social media criticisms. And I quote, "We will never respond to social media criticism. If ratings are down, if revenue is down, if relevancy is down, it's up to us." To whom it may concerns, you need criticism. Anybody that wants to succeed in life needs criticism. If you want to project that, oh, our numbers are good, oh, our relevancy is good, oh, this is good. Okay, you can look at that, you can applaud that, you can be like, congratulations on the success. But if we really want to start nitpicking things, there is so much improvement that can be done to be the best, not just one of, because I know they're going to say, they're going to tout themselves, we are the best pro wrestling company in the world. You are the most well-known company in the world. That was off of the back of that fucking horrible person, that being Vince McMahon. You are not the best pro wrestling company in the world. As of right now, I think AEW is the best in-ring pro wrestling company on the planet. By far. second to none. WWE has the biggest budget. They have the most glitz, the glamour. They have all of that stuff that makes pro wrestling special, except the creative decisions. And Tony Khan is no stranger to bad creative. Trust me, they got their own problems over there, except they're actually seeming to do a little bit of a better job at improving them slowly but surely. It's not great right now, but at least they're working at it. It seems like Nick Khan and WWE doesn't work at it. Instead, they have robots and AI writing their stories for them. And it's showing. You need online criticism. You need any sort of criticism. It's not just them, and it's not just about pro wrestling. If you want to succeed in life, you need to have constructive criticisms. You need to have good feedback. You need to be able to improve. It's always about never being satisfied. If I were to have a match, and this has happened to me personally, if I go out there and I have a match and I ask somebody that I truly care about their opinion, and I go, hey, what'd you think? They said, oh, it was great. Great. That's great. I was out there. I could have been like, yeah, I was there. I know. But what can I do better? If you can't nitpick something just to be like, hey, this could use some improvement, then how exactly do you expect to either become number one or to stay number one? If you can't point out the problems. And trust me, there are so many people that can easily poke a bunch of different problems into anything in life. Not just a business, not just WWE. Anybody could be like, oh, that could be better, that could be better. It's all just a mindset. Obviously, when it comes to these suits and ties like Nick Khan, obviously they're going to be the most professional. They're going to say what needs to be said in order for it to sound good. But that doesn't negate that in order to become the most successful, that you need to have constructive criticisms. There's been numerous companies that I've worked for where there is constructive criticisms, and either some of those companies will take it and be like, hey, you know what? They're right. Let's change this. Let's make this better. And then there's some of them that would be like, yeah, no, your opinion doesn't matter. It's not just anything. It's literally anything in life. This applies to everything in life. You need criticism in order to get better. Never stay satisfied. Always keep working. Always keep improving. Always keep grinding. That's why they need to have constructive criticism. Some people will take that and run with it and be like, oh, you're a hater. Like, I'm not necessarily hating. I'm just pointing out the things that I see where I'm like, that didn't make sense. That could have been done better. WWE is better than that. And sometimes I have to catch myself. But at the same time, at least I'm giving a little bit of constructive criticism and some sort of feedback. I do it with my own matches. I do it with anything I do in this life. The SpectreVerse, this YouTube channel. I am very much hey, this was good. How can I be better? And the reason for that just being I'm new here. But I still want to be great. I want to be in those conversations. I want to be a part of those collab videos. I want this to eventually be my full-time job. And I can't do that if I can't take constructive criticisms and in order to improve. If I just think, oh yeah, whatever I'm doing is working, and clearly it's not, I'm not going to go anywhere. That's why it's important. And yes, Nick Khan and the WWE should be listening or at least reading and just maybe not being like, okay, yeah, you're right, but at least take it into consideration. That's my big thing. At least take these criticisms that you hear from all these different people, some people that have some notoriety, some that have the most notoriety, a bunch of nobodies, diehard fans. WWE is such a big audience that it's hard to be like, okay, who do we want to cater to? Take it all in. Let the entire core, tell you what's working and what's not. But at the same time, those diehards, they've been with you through thick and thin, and you want to reward them for that. So maybe it is worth the conversation piece to be like, hey, maybe we should be listening to them a little bit more. Should we be catering to them? No. You got to cater to a bunch of different people. I understand all of that. But it doesn't mean that the criticism isn't worth it and it isn't unwarranted, because it very much is. Because if you can't take criticisms, you shouldn't be here. And that's just the God honest truth. But before we wrap things up on episode 21, I do want to talk a little bit of gaming and a little bit of basketball. I'm going to keep it very short and sweet. Game 3 is about to start here in a little bit. I am completely shocked as to how the Knicks have been playing. They have been going balls to the wall. Both games have been phenomenal. Wemby, obviously, if he didn't have that first half performance that he had with Game 2, I feel like San Antonio would have pulled it out to make it at least 1-1. But now they have to go into Madison Square Garden and try to beat them and to avoid the sweep. Curious to see how that's going to go. But shout out to the Knicks. God forbid anything bad happens to anybody. But I'm curious to see what New York is going to look like if the Knicks win this championship. I'm going to be completely honest. Thoughts and prayers will be going out to anybody that lives in New York, because that place is going to go bonkers. And I'm all for it. Trust me, I'm all for it. I predicted the Spurs to win, but I'm not going to hate at all if the Knicks win. At all. I'm just happy we didn't get the Thunder. No shade to the Thunder. I'm just glad we didn't get the Thunder again. And then as far as video games goes, I did, in fact, end up ordering College Football 27 for the PC, which is, first time ever. College football is going to be on PC. So you guys, as far as my community members, the members of the SpectreVerse, you guys will get to enjoy some college football gameplay this year. And that's going to be super exciting. I got a lot of cool gaming stuff coming in the pipeline. I'm just waiting on the right time to actually do it, because my schedule is very, very busy. And I also pre-ordered Marvel's Wolverine. I probably won't be going live with Wolverine. I'll probably just be playing that in my free time. But as far as gaming goes, I do want to bring back community nights where my subscribers or anybody watching, they can come on in, hang out, shoot the shit, have some drinks, have some laughs. I got Apex, college football, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. I also pre-ordered that. That's going to be coming down the pipeline. Grand Theft Auto is going to be coming out this year. I'm probably going to end up pulling the trigger on that as well. We got a lot of cool stuff coming this way on the SpectreVerse, and I hope you guys stick around. If you guys do want to stick around, hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for all notifications. And you guys can also follow me on all social media platforms, and that's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JariSpectre. And until episode 22, we will see you all next time. Peace out.
Summon the Spectre.